Have you ever heard that saying, like, laughter is the best medicine? It's a nice thought, right? But what if laughter, like, isn't always about something being funny? What if it's not always about joy or humor?
Yeah,
What if it sometimes comes from, like, a place of struggle or discomfort?
right.
That's what we're kind of unpacking in today's deep dive.
Yeah.
We're exploring the often misunderstood world of autism and what a lot of people perceive as inappropriate laughter. And our guide for this deep dive is an article called Autism and Inappropriate Laughter, Understanding the Complexities. This one really got me thinking.
It's such an important topic to like unpack and kind of get into.
Yeah.
Because it gets right at the heart of how differently people with autism can experience the world.
Okay.
The article talks about how overwhelming sensory input can be a really major trigger for this.
Okay, so paint a picture for me here.
Okay.
What does that actually mean? Like, what does that look like for someone on the spectrum?
Okay, so imagine like you're going to a concert and the music is just like deafening. The lights are flashing constantly. People are bumping into you from every direction. For many of us, it might be exhilarating or maybe a bit much.
Right.
But we can, we deal with it. Now imagine that same concert, but your senses are amplified, like tenfold.
Oh, wow.
It's not just loud, it's like physically painful.
Yeah.
The lights aren't just bright, they're blinding.
Yeah.
And even the slightest touch like feels like a shock.
Wow, that's intense. I can see how somebody in that situation would be like desperate for a release valve.
Exactly.
Some way to like de-escalate.
Exactly. And that's where the laughter comes in.
Okay.
It's not that they find the concert like funny.
Right.
It's that their body is trying to kind of regulate itself in the midst of all of that sensory overload.
It's like their own personal pressure release valve.
Yes.
I like that. The article also talked about how laughter can be a form of like masking emotions, right?
Absolutely.
Like hiding what you're really feeling.
Yeah. We all have different ways of coping with like
Yeah.
really strong emotions.
Right.
Some people cry.
Sure.
Some people withdraw.
Yeah.
And some people, believe it or not, laugh.
Yeah, it seems counterintuitive, but I've actually like caught myself doing that before, like laughing when I feel like I'm about to cry. It's like my brain is just trying to find any outlet for this emotional pressure.
Precisely. And for individuals with autism who oftentimes face a lot of challenges with emotional regulation and communication,
Right.
this kind of laughter can be even more common.
Yeah.
They might not have the tools to express what they're feeling in a way that, we might understand as neurotypical people.
Right. Right.
So laughter kind of becomes their way of sort of navigating those really intense emotional waters.
Yeah. It's like they're speaking a different emotional language.
Mm-hmm.
And laughter is like one of the phrases they know how to use.
Yes.
Now, another piece of the puzzle the article kind of highlighted was the role of social misunderstandings and how that can play into all of this.
That's such a critical piece because it speaks to like the social complexities of autism.
Right.
We rely so heavily on all these unwritten social rules.
Totally.
And those can be incredibly difficult for someone on the spectrum to grasp.
So like what might seem like a totally obvious social cue to you or me might just go like right over their head.
Yeah, imagine like a child at a puppet show.
Okay.
And the puppets are, enacting a sad scene.
Yeah.
Maybe one puppet is saying goodbye to another.
Mm-hmm.
A neurotypical child might pick up on the like somber music, the puppet's drooping posture, the way the other puppets are, looking, all those subtle cues that tell them, this is a sad moment.
Yeah.
But a child with autism might focus on something entirely different,
Okay.
like the bright colors of the puppets or the funny way one of them is talking.
Right.
And because they're not picking up on those social cues of sadness, their laughter is a genuine reaction to what they're experiencing.
Right.
Not necessarily disregard for the intended mood.
That makes so much sense. It's like a totally different way of processing information, interacting with the world.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we've talked about like sensory overload, masking emotions, and social misunderstandings as potential triggers for this, like, quote unquote, inappropriate laughter in autism.
Right.
Are there any other like pieces we need to add to this puzzle?
Yeah, I think there's at least one more key piece we need to kind of bring into the picture here.
Okay.
And the article called it out specifically.
Yeah.
Stimming.
Stimming.
Yes.
It's one of those things that's like often misunderstood, but
Yeah.
it's so central to like understanding autism, I feel like.
It is.
It's like those little things we all do, right? When
Yeah.
we're trying to like focus or calm down. Like, I'm a pen clicker for sure, like when I'm deep in thought.
Totally. Yeah, we all have our little ways of kind of regulating our sensory input and our emotional state.
Right.
And for people with autism, stimming can be even more pronounced and essential.
Okay.
What's fascinating here is that laughter can actually be a form of stimming too.
Really?
Yeah.
I never thought about it that way.
Yeah.
But it makes sense. So
Yeah.
it's not always about something being funny, but more about kind of seeking out a specific sensory experience.
Precisely. It could be the physical sensation of your vocal cords vibrating, the feeling of your chest expanding and contracting,
Oh, wow.
or even like the rhythmic pattern of laughter itself.
Oh, interesting.
Remember we were talking earlier about how heightened senses can make the world feel really chaotic and overwhelming for some people?
Right, right.
Well, engaging in sort of these repetitive behaviors like stimming, including laughter, can create a sense of predictability and control in the midst of all that chaos.
It's like self-soothing almost
Yes.
through a specific sensory input.
Exactly.
And if that particular input, in this case, laughter, helps them feel grounded, it makes sense that they might seek it out even if the timing seems kind of off to others.
Exactly.
Okay.
And that brings us back to the importance of understanding the why behind the behavior.
Right.
Because once we get curious about what function that laughter might be serving for that individual,
Right.
it opens up a whole new level of empathy and compassion.
It's like that quote, once you know better, you do better.
Yes.
So we've spent a lot of time kind of unpacking the reasons behind what some might perceive as inappropriate laughter in autism.
Right.
But the article didn't stop there.
Yeah.
It also offered some really practical guidance on how to support individuals who might be struggling with this.
Yeah.
Let's dive into that,
Let's do it.
shall we?
Yeah.
Where do we even begin?
Well, one of the most impactful things we can do is kind of create environments that minimize sensory overload.
Yeah.
Especially for folks who are really sensitive.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like if we know that someone's really easily overstimulated by loud noises or bright lights, we can make adjustments to create a calmer, more predictable kind of atmosphere for them.
Exactly. Things like dimmer lighting,
Yeah.
noise-canceling headphones,
Sure.
designated quiet spaces, even small adjustments can make a world of difference.
Yeah, totally.
The article also talked about the importance of clear communication and social skills coaching.
So directly teaching someone about, appropriate times to laugh.
Yeah.
How to kind of read those subtle social cues that they might be missing.
Precisely. And this is crucial.
Yeah.
It's not about shaming them or punishing them for getting it quote unquote wrong.
Right.
It's about approaching these situations with patience, understanding,
Yeah.
a willingness to kind of meet them where they are.
It's about giving them the tools to
Yeah.
navigate this social world in a way that feels, safe and empowering, not overwhelming or embarrassing.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, the article also touched on the importance of seeking professional guidance in certain situations.
Yes.
When does it cross that line from this is something we can kind of support with some environmental tweaks and understanding to we need to bring in the experts?
That's such an important question to ask.
Yeah.
Because while, understanding the reasons behind kind of quote unquote inappropriate laughter is crucial, it's equally important to recognize that it can sometimes be a sign of an underlying issue
Okay.
that requires, professional attention.
So if the laughter is happening really frequently,
Yeah.
if it's causing significant distress or, interfering with their daily life,
Right.
that's kind of a red flag that we need to dig a little deeper.
Right. That's kind of a red flag that we need to dig a little deeper.
Yeah.
It's always best to kind of err on the side of caution and consult with a qualified professional who can help, rule out any underlying anxiety, sensory processing disorders, other factors that might be contributing to the behavior.
Right.
Because sometimes that inappropriate laughter is just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
And addressing those deeper issues can make a world of difference in that person's overall well-being.
It's like putting together a puzzle. right?
Yeah.
We've got all these sensitivities, emotional regulation, social understanding, stimming,
Mhm.
and sometimes we need a little help figuring out how they all kind of fit together
Yes,
to support that individual in the best way possible.
totally.
What's kind of stood out to you as we've gone on this deep dive? What are you like walking away with?
I think for me, what I'm walking away with is, um, honestly, the biggest takeaway is the importance of shifting from judgment to curiosity.
Oh, that's good.
It's so easy to hear inappropriate laughter and just make assumptions. Yeah. But when we take the time to actually understand the why behind the behavior, it opens up this whole new level of empathy and compassion.
Yeah.
Instead of seeing it as, disruptive or disrespectful,
Mm.
we can start to see it as a form of communication,
Yeah.
a way for that individual to navigate a world that honestly doesn't always make sense to them.
I love that. And it's not just about like understanding autism. It's about
Mhm.
approaching like all human behavior
Yes.
with that same like sense of curiosity and empathy.
Oh,
Like
thank you.
we all have our
Not
quirks or struggles.
our own unique ways of experiencing the world.
Right, exactly. And when we like lead with understanding rather than judgment,
Yes.
we create a much more, I think, inclusive and compassionate society for everyone.
So well said. It's about recognizing that we all have different ways of moving through the world.
Yeah.
And what might seem like strange or even inappropriate to one person
Mhm.
might be perfectly understandable from another perspective.
Right.
It's a good reminder to kind of check ourselves, challenge our assumptions, and approach each other with a little more grace and understanding.
This has been such an eye-opening conversation.
Yeah.
I feel like I've learned so much, not just about autism, but about myself and how I can kind of, show up in the world with more empathy and understanding.
Me too.
Yeah.
It's always a privilege to have these conversations and learn from each other.
So to our listener out there, here's something to kind of chew on. The next time you encounter someone whose behavior seems, I don't know, out of place or even like jarring,
Right.
take a moment,
Yeah.
resist the urge to judge,
Yeah.
and instead get curious.
Yes.
Ask yourself, what might this person be experiencing that I'm not aware of?
Mm.
And how can I approach this situation with empathy and understanding?
Yeah.
You might be surprised by what you discover.